Welcome back to Banajawad PU College online classes. Today we will discuss the various abiotic factors, how it is affecting on the organism's life. Now we can see here the various abiotic factors, namely first one is temperature, second one is water, third one is light, fourth one is soil. Here, these four abiotic factors, how they affect the organism's life, we will discuss clearly today session. Clear? Now we can see here, first we will take up in our session, that is temperature. Okay, before going to this discussion of these abiotic factors, what is meant by abiotic factors, we will discuss now. Abiotic factors mean, A means non, biotic means living. Biotic means living. Here we will discuss about the non-living factors. Non-living factors. Here you know very well, in the introduction part we have discussed about the interactions of organisms between the environment. Means the interaction between organisms and its environment. Environment in the sense abiotic factors. Abiotic factors. And also the interactions we have seen between the living organisms to living organisms. In the sense how the different biotic factors are affects the organism's life. Biotic factors means you know very well all the living things. Okay, how they affect the organism's life we have discussed clearly in the introduction part. Okay, like as here in this session we are discussing how these abiotic factors are affecting the organism's life. We will discuss clearly. In that, first we will discuss about the abiotic factor, that is the first factor is temperature. First factor is temperature. We will discuss now about the temperature clearly. Right. Now we can take out here the temperature. Temperature. It is the most important ecologically, relevant factor. Most important ecologically relevant factor. It means out of these four, this is the very important ecologically relevant factor. The reason is most of the organism's body enzymes are working with the help of the temperature. All the enzymes are requiring optimum temperature for their work. Clear? That we will take up later on. Clearly we will discuss one by one. Now we can see the just meaning of the first line is, it is the most important ecologically relevant factor. Relevant factor. Sometimes in the entrance exams they will ask, which one is the most ecologically relevant factor out of these four? They will ask the question. That is the temperature. Clear? Now, second point you can see here. The average temperature on land varies seasonally. It means the average temperature on the land is changes based on the season. We know very well, in the winter season we are noticing less temperatures. In the summer season we are noticing more temperature. Whether the temperature increases or decreases, that is based on the seasons. We know very well. Clear? Now the temperature decreases progressively, means continuously, from equator towards the poles. The temperature is going to be decreases when we move from equator line towards the poles. That will explain clearly. You can see here, for example, if you take up here, this is the globe. We can think it is the globe. One side we can take up South Pole. One side we can take up the South Pole here. Another side we can take up North Pole. Okay, the center line we can take on the globe. This is the equator line. Now, if you take up, this is the R origin point, it is nothing but starting point. From here, if you move towards the north pole, the temperature is going to be decreases. If you move from the equator to south pole, the temperature is going to be decreases. It means in this area at the equator line, we are noticing high temperatures. At the polar regions, we are noticing this is the polar region. Whether it is south polar, north pole, we will notice the less temperatures. That is the meaning of the first line. You can see here the temperature is going to be decreases progressively from equator to towards the poles. It means from equator to, whether it is towards the north pole or towards the south pole, the temperature is going to be decreases. Clear? Now the next point. And from the plains to mountain tops also, temperature is going to be decreases. It means, for example, this is the mountain, this is the plains. Okay, for example, this is the plain. Now, plains to mountain tops. Okay, here you can see the temperature is going to be decreases when we move from plain region to the top of the mountain. You can see here we are noticing high temperatures when we move from this place to mountain top, high altitudinal places. We are noticing here less temperatures. Okay, you understand this point? Clear? Okay, first point is decreases temperature from equator line to towards the poles, whether it is south pole or north pole. And second one is the, and also temperature is decreases from plains to mountain tops. When we move from plains to mountain tops, we are noticing less temperature. And when we move from equator line to polar regions, we are noticing less temperature. So, for example, polar regions we can take Leh Ladakh and Siachen. There we are noticing minus degrees centigrade temperature in the Himalayan regions. Clear? Now we can see. Third point, it ranges. The temperature is ranges from sub-zero level. Sub-zero level means less than 0 degree centigrade in polar regions and high altitudinal places. Here we are noticing below 0 degree centigrade temperature in the polar regions and high altitudinal places. And more than 50 degree centigrade temperature we are noticing in tropical desert areas. We are noticing more than 50 degree centigrade temperature. In this temperature ranges only, maximum the animals or the organisms are available. Whether it is in the 0 degrees, sub-zero levels, and as well as to the more than 50 degree centigrade temperature is suitable for the most of the living organisms. Okay, that's what we are observing most of the living organisms in this range, sub-zero level to greater than 50 degree centigrade temperature. Clear? Now we can see the next point. Here you can observe it. In habitats like thermal springs or hot springs contains 60 degrees to 90 degrees centigrade temperature, and deep sea hydrothermal vents, here also we are noticing greater than or more than 100 degrees centigrade temperature. Now we can see one more time, repeat it. Habitats like thermal springs, there we are noticing 60 to 90 degrees centigrade temperature, and one more habitat, deep sea hydrothermal vents, here we are noticing greater than 100 degrees centigrade temperature. Okay, in this temperature ranges also, in these extreme conditions also, we are observing some of the bacteria, example archaebacteria. These archaebacteria we are observing in these habitats. These two are the unique habitats. Normally habitats are maximum habitats from 0 degrees, means less than 0 degrees to greater than 50 degrees centigrade temperature ranges only presented. There only we are noticing most of the living organisms. But in some of the unique habitats like hydrothermal vents and as well as to that thermal springs, here also we are noticing some few organisms like as archaebacteria. These archaebacteria, how they are existing in this area is because they have the special proteins. They have a special proteins. These proteins are provide the ability to survive in hydrothermal vents and as well as the hot springs. Okay, this is one thing. One more thing is here they have anti-freezing proteins. Freezing proteins also they contains. These anti-freezing proteins are helpful for them to live in the very cold, extreme cold conditions places also. Extreme cold conditions places also. Clear? First one is some proteins are helpful for to live in the high temperature ranges. Means here more temperature, 100 degrees above temperature is there. There also these organisms are existed. The reason is they have the specialized thermophilic proteins, and as well as some of the anti-freezing proteins are presented in their body. These proteins are helpful for them to live in extreme cold conditions. Clear? Right. Now you can see temperature is why it is ecologically relevant factor. Most important ecological relevant factor is the reason mainly temperature affects the distribution of organisms. Temperature affects the distribution of organisms. Example, mango trees. Do not grow temperate areas. Mango trees do not grow temperate areas. It means temperate areas is nothing but low temperature containing area. Low temperature area. Don't confuse it here. Low temperature area. It's not the high temperature area. Temperate means nothing but low temperature area. It is nothing but near to the poles. This area is presented. Here we are noticing like a conical forest. As a conical forest, I told you, in the biomes discussing time I explained you that these temperate areas are helpful to grow pine trees. Okay, these are the cold climatic conditions. Okay, like countries like Canada, Germany. In the Germany and Canada, in these two countries, we are not at all noticing any one variety of the mango trees. The reason is mango trees are needed high temperature. Okay, but in these two countries, the temperature ranges are very less. That is the reason these two countries are not suitable for the mango trees growth. Like as another example, you can observe it here. The second example, snow leopards are not found in Kerala forest. Vice versa. First point to second point is vice versa. Here snow leopards are presented in extreme cold climatic conditions like in the Himalayan regions. Okay, snow, where the snow is presented, where the snow is there actually in the polar region, whether it is in South Pole or North Pole region, we are observing snow, permafrost areas, that is completely the soil is covered with ice. Okay, in these areas we are observing the snow leopards. Okay, the snow leopards are not found in Kerala forest. The reason is snow leopards are present in cold climatic condition. That's what the Kerala forest is, high temperature containing areas. That is the reason these are requiring only the cold climatic ice containing areas, not the hot climatic condition areas. That is the what? These organisms are not present in the Kerala forest because here high temperatures we are noticing. These organisms are requiring less temperature. That's what we are not at all found these organisms in the Kerala forest. Clear? Now the third one example we can see here, tuna fish. Tuna fish rarely caught beyond tropical latitude in the ocean. We know very well, tropical latitude means whichever the place is near to the equator line, that place we can call it as a tropical area. Tropical area. These tropical areas not only on the land, these tropical areas presented even in the oceans also. In the oceans where the tropical area is there only we are noticing the tuna fishes more. Okay, beyond that we are observing very less number of the tuna fishes. Very less number of the tuna fishes. Clear? Right. Now we can see the next point. Temperature affects the kinetics of the enzymes. Temperature affects the kinetics of the enzymes. What is the meaning of this temperature affects the kinetics of the enzymes is, the enzymes are working on the basis of the temperature. Enzymes are working especially in the optimum temperature ranges. They need the specific temperature for their work. Here that is nothing but as a optimum temperature. This optimum temperature, whether it is increases optimum temperature, the enzymes are getting the denature. Denaturation takes place. Denature means spoiling the enzymes here. Okay, optimum temperature is needed. In this optimum temperature range only the enzymes are working properly in our body. These are helpful for the metabolic activities of our body, whether it is the digestion, respiration, excretion, whatever it is. Okay, like if it is the temperature is decreases below the optimum condition, it gets the enzymes are getting inactive. The enzymes are getting inactive. Clear? That is the reason only. If you see some food items or vegetables we are keeping in the refrigerators. What purpose we are keeping in the refrigerators? To keep it freshly without attacking of the microorganisms, without spoiling. Microbes are active in the room temperature. In the room temperature because they require the optimum temperature. But what we are doing? We are decreasing their optimum temperatures when we are placing in the refrigerator, means fridge. When we are placing in the food items in a fridge, the microorganisms body containing enzymes are getting inactive. That is the reason the microbe will die. It will not active in the refrigerator. That's what our food items are not spoiling when we are placing in the fridge. Clear? That's the same reason if you place the food item outside under the sunlight, for example, the enzymes are getting denatured. At that time also the food items are easily gets the spoil. Easily gets the spoil. Clear? Right. This is the one point which is helpful. That is the temperature affects the kinetics of the enzymes. Kinetics means work of the enzymes. Kinetics means working ability of the enzymes, that depends mainly on the temperature. And although when the enzymes are working properly, our metabolism, that is the basal metabolism activity also depends upon the kinetics of the enzymes. Our metabolism, our basal metabolism also depends upon the kinetic activity of the enzymes. What is the meaning of basal metabolism? When we are in rest, when we are sleeping, then also we need some metabolisms. That is nothing but as a respiration. What purpose we need the respiration? We need the respiration for the breakdowning of glucose materials in our body cells. That is the reason we need the respiration. That metabolic activity we can consider it as a basal metabolism. Basal metabolism, the metabolism which is occurs at the rest time, that metabolism we are considered it as a basal metabolism. Clear? This activity, that's basal metabolism also depends upon the enzyme activity. And also some other physiological functions of the organism also depends upon the temperature. Clear? One more time I'll tell you that temperature affects the kinetics of the enzymes. These enzymes kinetics is helpful for the basal metabolism activity, and also other physiological functions of the organism also depends upon the temperature. Clear? Right. Now the next point you can see here, based on the range of thermal tolerance, based on the range of thermal tolerance, it means based on the range. For example, some organisms may present in the wide ranges of temperatures. Some organisms may exist only in the narrow ranges of temperatures. Okay, based on that, we can classify organisms into two types. We can classify organisms into two types. It is the very important for the board exams as well as to the entrance exams. Clear? This is the very important, not this point. This complete concept is very important for the entrance exams. Now we can see in the first one here, that is the ureothermal organisms. Ureothermal organisms. Ure means nothing but, in the meaning itself, the ure means wide. Ure means wide. Okay, thermal means temperature. Organisms. Ureothermal organisms mean the organisms which can tolerate a wide ranges of temperature. Such organisms are called as ureothermal organisms. Whatever the organisms are thrive or tolerate in a wide ranges of temperatures, such organisms we are call it as a ureothermal organisms. Okay, for example, if you take up the man, we are existing even in 50 degrees centigrade temperature region, like as in Rajasthan desert. We are also present in -0 degrees centigrade temperature region, like as a Himalayan region. Human beings are presented at the 50 degrees centigrade temperature region also. Along with that, the same person can exist or survive in a 0 degree centigrade temperature range also. Okay, don't confuse here. Wide is different from the high. High means the organisms can survive only in the high temperatures. High temperature means greater than 50 degrees centigrade or greater than our room temperature, if you consider as a high temperature. Around 40 degrees, 45 degrees, 50 degrees, 100 degrees, 200 degrees high temperature. I am not saying high temperature. I am saying that wide range. Wide range means from the 50 degrees range also we can survive, and even though -0 degrees range also we can survive. These ranges, wide range means wide difference is there between the one area to another area temperature. Then also we can exist in both the areas. Such kind of organisms are considered as a ureothermal organisms. The organisms which can survive in the wide ranges of temperature. Okay, that is nothing but as a at 0 degrees also organism can survive, at 50 degrees also organism can survive. This is the wide differences, wide variations are there in the place to place. We can exist in there, we can cope up with these areas with the help of the adaptations. Okay, example, man, cat, dog. Human beings and surrounding organisms, we are considered as a ureothermal organisms. Even though you can take an example, plants also. They are also existing in the wide ranges of temperatures. Clear? Now you can see another one, stenothermal organisms. Steno meaning is narrow. Steno meaning itself narrow. Ure means wide, steno means narrow. These words only you can use in the exam. While writing the definition, you can use only wide and narrow. Don't use high and low temperatures. Clear? Now you can see the organisms which can tolerate a narrow ranges of temperatures, such organisms are called as stenothermal organisms. It means one organism, if it is presented, for example, one organism is present at the -0 degree centigrade temperature, for example. The same organism, if you put it to the 50 degree centigrade temperature, it cannot survive. The reason is they can tolerate only in the narrow ranges of variations. It means, for example, from -0 degrees to until 5 degrees centigrade temperature, they may survive. It means the temperature variations are very less. Then only they can survive. They need only the narrow ranges of variations in their temperature. Then only they can exist or they can survive in that places. Clear? Here wide range the organisms can survive. Here narrow range variations only they needed. They can survive only in the narrow ranges of temperature, narrow variations in the temperatures. Clear? Example, if you take the fishes and some of the reptiles. Not all the reptiles, some of the reptiles can survive in the narrow ranges of temperatures. Clear? Understand? Okay? Right. Now these two are the very important even for the entrance exam as well as to the board exam.